think ColecoVision plays all Atari cartridges.
You mean it can't?
Here's Pacman on ColecoVision. But here's Pacman for the Atari 5200 Super System.
Now you're talking.
And it doesn't work on ColecoVision.
But won't their adapter?
It won't play Super System cartridges.
Not pole position?
Not this pole position.
Not Centipede?
Not this Centipede. Only on the Atari 5200 Super System.
But aren't they hard to find?
They're everywhere.
Everywhere?
The Atari 5200 Super System.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the amazing Atari Aficionado. This is Season 2, of course, and this is Episode 2. Just as you saw in the thumbnail and the description / title of the video, this is more pickups. I just got so many pickups that I figured I would literally dedicate yet another video to trying to knock a bunch of these out, and then I'll start getting into some of the other items that I got. So here we go. So first up is a game that I'm pretty sure I did not have this already, but I thought that I had it already because it looks similar to the game. I think it's called Star Destroyer. If it's not that, then I might be thinking it's basically the game that works with the Atari keypad. This game you do not need the keypad for, but obviously in the picture it shows a guy using a keypad. I'm pretty sure it's called Star or something. For those that know, please feel free to make fun of me and correct me in the comments. But this game is absolutely fantastic. There's a lot going on with it. This is a game that I may do a review of if I have time. But once again, this is another one of the maroon late 2600 re-releases. So this was obviously a popular enough game that they made another release of it. This game I wasn't going to show because I was going to wait until I got the special controller in order to talk about it, but who knows when I'm going to get that controller. I may never ever get it. But here we have Alpha Beam. This is part of the Children's Computer Workshop series by Atari from 1983. So this is Sesame Street themed game, and you would need the kids controller, the Atari 2600 kids controller, in order to work this game. So I wasn't able to play it, so I don't have much to say about it. But I know that there's a whole series of these games, so hopefully I'll find those. This game, okay, Cosmic Creeps. From what I remember, it's a very strange game. I played it, and it wasn't super memorable. It's a very, very weird game, and there's sort of a lot going on because you're like this little guy, and you're rescuing people. I think this is one of the games where there is you're flying and rescuing people, but at the same time you are also like shooting. So they basically mix it up a little bit for being a flying shooter. But this is definitely not a kart and or game that you see around a whole lot. This was by Telesis. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. But yes, Cosmic Creeps. Very, very weird. This one, I don't remember if I talked about it, so I apologize. Like I said, I got so many of these games, it's hard to keep track of what's what. But here, this is Battlezone from 1983. Essentially, you're a tank, and you're just shooting other tanks. It's pretty cut and dry. This is essentially the true 3D, sort of like 4D version of combat. So if you ever actually wanted to be inside the tank and move around and shoot things, this is the game for you. So essentially that's like combat on steroids. Here from 1983, this is by Mythicon, so another publisher that I have not talked about yet. This is Starfox, not to be confused with the other Starfox games. This is its completely own title. I don't believe this has anything to do with the Fox McCloud series. but you are flying a spaceship. But the thing that hurts this game a whole lot is the background sound and sound effects. I think they were trying to get the idea and or sound of a ship constantly running, like the engine sort of humming. Unfortunately, that is not how it comes off, and it gets very annoying very quickly, and the gameplay is just very repetitive. It looks like a great game. It's a really cool cart, but unfortunately, not a very memorable game. Up next is a game that is actually a very expensive game, and I was lucky enough to come across this for cheap. I actually came across 2 of these, and I traded one to a friend for some other games. But this is Hero, and already I'm forgetting what the acronym stands for. It's Helicopter Emergency Rescue Operation, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody that knows the correct acronym, if I'm wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments. But aside from this being an expensive and hard to find Atari 2600 game, this is actually a very, very awesome game. I totally recommend picking it up if you're a fan of the 2600 and you're looking for something similar to Pitfall 2, sort of, more of like a side-scroller type thing. Where and it's also a little bit like Dig Dug because you're going under caverns and there's some flying and stuff involved, and you get to shoot at aliens like you would in Dig Dug. So it's definitely an awesome game, awesome cover. I really need to find the manual in the box because the story involved is phenomenal. So of course this is by Activision from 1984. Very, very cool game. Obviously, don't overpay for it, but if you can find it for a good price, definitely pick it up. All right, moving along is Phoenix. Unfortunately, this one's a little beat up. Hopefully, I can find a better-looking Phoenix. This is from 1982. Once again, another alien shooting flyer, where you're just flying in outer space. This one is a ton of fun. Tons of replayability involved. Just a great game overall. The villains are always moving around the screen. Some of them shoot at you. Some of them respawn. There's bird creatures where you can shoot their wings off, but if you don't shoot them right in the middle, they won't die right away. But if you shoot their wings, they still fly somehow, and they can regrow their wings. It's such an incredible 2600 game. This is the bread and butter of the system right here. Everybody is always talking about all these other Atari games. You gotta get Phoenix. This is a Jazzy must pick up. Speaking of must pick ups, this isn't necessarily a must pick up, but it's definitely a great collector's item, and it looks great on your shelf. It was a little weird to play, because if you've ever played the arcade version of this, or if you've ever played any other console port version of this, it's a lot easier to play. However, if you were to play Mario Brothers on the 2600, the jumping mechanics are tough. Because as you know with Atari games, kind of like in Porky's, when you jump, you actually have to use the joystick. You can't just hit jump. Because jump just means you kind of go up and down. You kind of have to jump and move the joystick. Or in the case if you're using a D-pad, you have to hit jump and the D-pad. So it's sort of a simultaneous thing. You do get used to it, but not entirely. And obviously, the Atari joystick is very different from the arcade joystick. So when playing this at the arcade, you're definitely going to have more precise jumps. I love Mario Brothers. Once again, unfortunately, this copy is a little banged up. The label was coming off. I had to re-glue it. Hopefully I can find a better looking one. I mean, the front label is pristine, but it's that bottom label that's messed up. But yeah, it's just so wild to not only see a Mario Brothers game, but a Nintendo game, 1983 on an Atari. This is obviously before North America even got the Nintendo system. So very wild. The graphics aren't too bad. Definitely looks better than Donkey Kong. For an arcade port, it's pretty good. It's pretty true to the arcade. But like I said, the jumping in it takes some time getting used to for sure. All right, now once again we're getting into the really good stuff. So here is Gremlins for all the Gremlins fans out there. Of course, some jacknut decided to write all over the cartridge, so that sucks. Some asshole named Jim. Looks like he spelled his name wrong and then scribbled it out and wrote it again. So, I guess second time's the charm. But aside from that, another very excellent game, kind of like Kaboom. You're preventing the Mogwai from getting to food, which is like obviously very similar to the movie. You can't feed them after midnight. And then the second level is their alien eggs are hatching and the gremlins are coming for you, and you have to, I think, shoot them. Great game, awesome game. If you're a Gremlins fan, it's obviously a must pick up. Very, very cool. Speaking of popular properties, here I have Taz. Another awesome Atari 2600 game. Lots of fun. I always remember this for the title screen. Taz looks very weird. He looks nothing like he does on the cover or the cartoon. I don't know why they designed it like that. However, gameplay, phenomenal. You're eating food. Tons of replayability. Doesn't really get old. Gets faster. Maybe a little too fast in the later levels. And they incorporate the whole spinning idea of Taz, which is really cool. That's what he's known for. So if you can get this for a good price like I did, snag it up. Otherwise, that's another game that can go for a little bit too much. All right, and then a couple games. I'm going to start doing two together. Don't have a whole lot to say about these. They were just more games I needed to pick up. Decathlon is essentially just as literally what it says. You're a decathlete, and you're doing various Olympic things such as running and jumping, and there's not a pole. I think there's a pole vault, if not, but there's the disc throwing and things like that. And then Chase is essentially just a really good two-player game where it's sort of like Snake, but with two players. Let's see here. And then, of course, I'll put these two together. Night Driver and Home Run. Home Run is just your standard baseball game. Nothing crazy, but I needed to pick that up. And then this is a Sears Telegames. This is Night Driver, obviously number 8. Sears Telegames had the numbers on there, so I did not have that. I needed to pick that up. Here is another one of those maroon 2600 games. This is Junior Pacman, of course, based on the arcade. This is very good, very similar to the arcade game, very challenging. This is the one where the level is so large that the screen moves as you go down or go up. Definitely a must pick up if you're looking for an a Pac-Man game with some more challenge, and obviously very similar to the arcade. Let's see here, Mick Commuter. This is another one that I'm starting to draw a blank on, because when I think of this, I think of Cosmic Creeps. Lots of Cosmic games. This one was just weird from what I remember. I didn't really care for it. The gameplay was just kind of strange. This is definitely a game that I'm going to come back and review at some point. This is by Activision. I'm not entirely sure why it got why this label got put on it. It looks really, really weird. You guys probably can't make out the robot clown-looking character on there. But another game that you don't normally see, so I had to pick it up. And then, of course, I'll put these two together. Here is yet another Sears IntelliGames, number 50. This is Pong Sports. This is exactly what you would think it is. It's a bunch of versions of Pong, such as hockey, soccer, volleyball, basketball, for 1 to 4 players. Did not have it, needed to get it. It's also in very good condition. And speaking of good condition games, I got Hangman. This is another great party game, 1 to 4 players. Really cool. Or maybe just, I'm sorry, 1 to 2 players. But still, really fun, really cool. Classic Hangman on Atari 2600. Can't beat it. So I will end with one last game, and it'll be a great one. This is Stampede. Another great game. Tons of replayability, lots of fun, lots of challenge. Very simple. You're just a cowboy riding a horse with your lasso, and you're just, capturing horse and cattle. Sorry, you're capturing cattle, and it's just a ton of fun, really cool. I'm sure a lot of people have seen reviews of this game floating around YouTube, so definitely neat. I love the brown label on it. Just totally makes me think it's like a Western type of video game. So that's it. I'm actually going to split this video into 2 parts, like I said, because I just have so many games, so many to go through. So this will be the end of part 1, and then of course to end out the video, I figured I would show a cool Atari item that I actually recently acquired, and I did not want to wait to show you guys this. I don't normally pick up stuff like this, just because I'm normally picky about what I get. But this is a new Atari item. This is from 2017, and this is an Atari Pitfall canister, or I guess the correct term for this would be the term has now, of course, escaped my head during the video. But for those who remember what these are called, canteen, I think that's the official term for canteen. And on the back is a picture of Pitfall Sam. Excuse me, Pitfall Harry. Can't think, of course. And here is the Pitfall cart right here. So, Pitfall Harry's Jungle Adventure. So, very cool. Iconic game. They have the box artwork on the other side of the canteen. So, I thought that was pretty cool. I believe somebody told me that this came in a one of those boxes, the retro boxes or something, or I forget what the gaming one is called. Pat the NES Punk opens them up all the time, and he does videos with that guy Frank. But whatever that box service is, Nerd Box or something, this was in there, and this got traded in at my video game store, and then I was lucky enough to buy it. So anyhow, that is the cool item. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully this video was not too long, and stay tuned for part 2. See you later.
I'm like really into video games, like for sure, totally. And Atari has this outfit that's like so awesome, I am sure. Okay, now you can get an Atari video game cartridge free. Like totally. That's like so tubular,
Buy 2 of these great hits, and Atari will send you any one of these great games free.
That's like so super, super nice. To the max. I'm like so sure, totally.
Buy 2, get 1 free.
For sure.